Call meeting to order. If you would join us in the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just a few announcements as we get started. As probably most of you know, agendas are available in the back of the room as you walk in if you didn't get one. We do record these meetings, video recorded, and they will be posted on our website. Written minutes will be on our website as well, and that will be after they're approved by the board. Any individual here has the right to record these proceedings, but you must announce your intent to do so at this time. There will be 2 opportunities for public comment during the meeting. We ask that if you wish to comment after being recognized by the chair, you would step forward to the microphone in front of us and state your name and address before speaking. With that, we'll let the board introduce themselves.
David Rose.
Ian Weiser.
Art Rutledge.
Paul Solomon.
Jeff Reynolds.
Thank you. And to my left, we have Todd Ziegler, our township manager, Tim Buck, our solicitor, and Wendy Brown, our recording secretary. And with that, we will follow our agenda. The first thing will be the approval of the minutes from our January 7th meeting.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Yes, second.
Motion and second. Any comments or questions? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 By a vote of 5-0, the minutes are approved. We preliminarily approved the December financial or treasurer's report last meeting. There are always some last minute tweaks to the end of the year, and so we now need to approve the final December report.
Take that motion.
I'll second.
Motion and second. Are there any questions? Nice to note that since the bank accounts have been moved around and changed and some sweep accounts, we're picking up about $6,000 in interest, I think, now. So certainly goes some ways over the course of the year. I have a motion and a second. We'll take a vote on approving the December treasurer's report. Okay?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
5 votes to the affirmative. The treasurer's report for December is approved. Now we'll walk to the treasurer's report for January. Do you have any questions or comments?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a
I'll
motion.
second it.
Motion and a second. We shall vote if there are no questions.
Aye.
Questions answered. Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. That's approved. Yeah, I have a few answered too, so we always thank Todd for digging out the details, as the board often has individual questions that they address to Todd before we come to the meeting, so he has time to research them and answer for us, and he always does a good job of doing that. I think just for information, there's the year-end budget versus actual report. There's no action we need to take on that.
I had a question.
Right.
Liquid fuels. It had 0 for maintenance and repairs. I thought that was strange. Did we not have any repairs?
No, we did not do any road projects this year.
Okay.
Saving that money for our flood repairs.
As well we should.
Yes, for this year.
Okay.
I'm at a footnote to our discussion. Budget versus actual, pretty much is self-explanatory, but in case it's not, we have a budget and then we start spending the money at the beginning of the year. We keep tabs of this is how much is budget, this is how much we've spent, so we know how we're doing with our expenditures.
But it's nice to know.
It's very helpful.
Nice to know that if you look at this, it's pretty consistent with our approach to budgeting. We try to be conservative. So we were actually, our budget was lower than our actual revenue, which we would hope would typically happen. And our expenses are also lower than what we had budgeted. So actually our revenue is higher than we had budgeted. So we try to be a bit conservative. Some of the areas where we generated some added income or licenses and permits, which just indicated probably more activity in the land development area. In intergovernment services, where we do things for some of the other municipalities, and highways, and we had some few miscellaneous areas. All in all, we were, I think, about 12% over our budget and revenue. So we generated quite a bit more than budgeted. When we looked at the expenses, we were significantly lower in legal services and engineering, a couple areas we've concentrated on trying to save some money in buildings and in health insurance, which has not gone up for another year for us. We were well over budget in highway repairs, almost $100,000, but that came from the flooding and the reaction we had to, the response we had to give to that. But we still came in about, not much, but about $9,000 under our budget, and that's because we were able to shift priorities and shift some things around and cover the highway repairs. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to say, Todd, on.
You covered it well.
All right.
More highway repairs pending.
Yes, we're not done there. We've come to our first opportunity for public comment. So is anyone who wishes to address the board at this time? Come on forward, sure. Can you come up to the microphone? If you give us your name and address, there you go.
Yeah, or if you can just let him just stand, whatever.
It'll pick you up.
Yeah, if you just stand in there.
All right, that works too.
Hello, I think Todd here is the only one that I knew here, and my name's Samuel Ash. I live down on Country T Lane off of Keller Road, and I just wanted, I talked with Penn Waste, I think it was a week ago. They told me I need to come to the Board of Supervisors about the township requires everybody to pay the Penn Waste, I guess.
Yes, that's correct.
And unless, yeah, I guess, do you allow anybody to get away with not paying if they can't use it?
Typically only if the property is vacant.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. We don't use it. We're like a half a mile off the lane, so we just take care of it ourselves or haul it, the recyclables, we haul it away. So it's money we're spending for not getting anything out of it.
Well, I have to recognize kind of the rates we negotiate are based on everybody in the township using the service. So if we allow people not to use it, then we find our rates would suffer and it would be just much harder to control. We really encourage recycling, which is done by Penn Waste, and we actually get money back based on the content of recycling. So it actually costs us money if somebody does not participate. So our policy is basically if we can confirm that a house is vacant, then we would typically agree to exempt them. Todd?
Correct. One question I had, are you paying the full rate of 240
That's,
or
yeah.
something? There is one other option you could do to pretty much cut that in half. It's a bag service, which cuts it down to
It's almost 50%.
143 versus 280, 290.
Do I just talk with Penn Waste?
Call Penn Waste and tell them you want to change your service to the per bag
Now,
service.
you won't have a trash can, well, they pick up bags if you do it that way. You get,
Their bags.
yeah, they're special bags.
Yeah,
And you can normally get 2 or 3 or 4 regular size bags, I know one of those. But you set those out at the end of the road and they'll come pick those up, but you only get,
Like for a full year service, you get 26 bags.
yes.
Okay.
So you're limited to 26 bags for basically a bag every other week.
Or you have to
Versus- Right.
We
For
buy
the
them.
service you're paying now, you can put out,
6 regular size bags.
yeah,
But that still includes recycling, doesn't it?
correct.
If you do that.
Okay.
So you don't have to take your recycling somewhere.
Yeah, you can, they should have provided you with a toter and wheels or whatever.
Yes.
So you could change that service, so call Penn Waste and just tell them you want to change to the per bag service. And that'll cut it in half.
That should work.
Yeah.
You have
Thank
to make
you.
sure that one bag day, every other week will suffice. You don't have stuff hanging around your buildings and all that works. How much, if I can ask, how much waste do you generate? One bag, it's a large bag, would that take care of your garbage for 2 weeks?
Probably, we don't,
He's not gonna use that bag.
Pardon me?
He's probably not gonna use that bag, because he gets.
I don't know what size bag you're talking
Oh,
about.
okay, okay.
I'm
very big one.
thinking, yeah. Well, thank you.
That would help you.
Yes,
You bet.
that would probably work better.
Okay.
Thanks.
We like properties to be kept neat and tidy, and things recycled, and everybody gets along better that way.
You need to slip that in from the front, so there you go. You got it. Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to address the board at this time? Okay. We'll move on. I believe the next item is a public hearing regarding ordinance number 2019-02, correct, Todd?
Correct.
So I will temporarily suspend our normal meeting and open the public hearing. This is regarding the exercise of the Armstrong Cable Franchise Agreement. Do you want a brief introduction, Todd? I don't think we need to get any of the details of the
It's,
agreement.
basically what the ordinance does is authorizes the board to execute the franchise agreement with Armstrong Cable TV. The township is served on the east side of 83 by Armstrong, and on the west side is served by Comcast. And I don't know the exact numbers, but even in the township on the east side, it's not a large service area. And the contract is good for 10 years, and that's pretty typical for a cable franchise agreement. This was one that, let's see how many pages we have here now. We're up 16, 17 pages, and the previous franchise agreement, I think, was 3, maybe 4. But we had a consultant out of Pittsburgh who deals basically with cable TV and franchise agreements, and they helped us through this process, which was a good 2.5 year process to get to this point that everybody's in agreement. So the current franchise is brought up to current standards and regulations under the FCC, where the other one was not, and picked up a lot of the things that are eligible under the franchise fees. So we've been through this. It's been reviewed by our solicitor out in Philadelphia that handled this, and looks like that's ready to go. Just as a side note, one of the concerns we had was getting service to Caprice Court. Art and I had a conference call with Armstrong, it's probably about a month ago, and they actually have reached out to me twice since that time for updates to let me know where they were and so forth. And they are working with PennDOT. As it appears, they can take the lines overhead at Wolf Road over 851.
Okay.
They'll be coming from the area over on Stonebridge, coming across 851 on the poles and then down to Caprice.
Okay.
So they are working with that.
Do they consider putting that line underground?
Much more expensive. That's why they want to go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's.
Well, there's poles already there,
Okay.
and if they run it underground, it gets more expensive, and then they're going to ask the businesses to contribute.
Because the pole's already there.
Poles are already there.
Are they 20 served? I mean, I just looked at their notes here, and they said
It's
20
not.
from Local Cable.
No,
I
it's
didn't know
not.
how many.
The only reason they're
Couldn't get to 20,
going,
but I wasn't sure if I had everybody.
no, the only reason I think they are going to do this, even though it's less than 20, is when Caprice Court was built and Sky King put their building in. Sky King actually had the conduit placed and everything so that they could run their cable. And so a lot of that work's already done. So they really have to just get to the bottom of Caprice Court. So they are moving forward with that.
We're not using the education and government channel.
I do not know if, well, under Armstrong, I don't think we have any educational facilities on the east side in Shrewsbury Township.
I was just thinking about meetings, publicizing meetings, might be another outlet. But granted, it's a lot less people than the west side of the highway.
I mean, we have that same option with Comcast. I'm not aware that Sheila lines.
I will focus on this one. We'll open it up for public comment, if there is any, regarding the franchise execution. Anyone wish to speak? And we'll close the public hearing. And as we normally do, we'll just vote right now on that. If there are any other comments from the board, questions?
No.
Okay, we shall go ahead and vote. The vote is to authorize the execution of the franchise agreement.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative, so we've authorized agreement to the franchise.
I think we've done our due diligence on this. That's why I think we're quiet right now because we've already spent a lot of time on this. And
Yes, that's correct.
all our issues have been resolved.
And we've used the expert in the field who was not negotiating only for us but for others, so we didn't get hit with a huge bill for it. And it's pretty much covering well. They're the same group that we use each year to, I guess, audit and look at what we get back from the franchise. And they usually get us more money than we were originally paid by the cable companies. And not to ignore your comments, but I think that's something we can talk about too.
Yeah.
It would make more sense to do that with Comcast than with.
I think it's something to look at for both school board meetings as well as township.
I thought Comcast pulled that out of the contract, so we'll have to check that. But we can. All right, the next order of business comes under subdivision and land development. We've got a number of items to consider here. The first is the O&M General Partnership, also known as O'Shea Lumber, and we have a request for 5 waivers. I believe, Todd, it is the recommendation of the staff and the planning commission that they be granted.
That's correct, yes.
So that recommendation comes to the board.
And these comments, I believe.
And the people are here, so if there are comments that wish to be addressed.
No, I just think that Jeff had some things that he wanted addressed from our previous letter, and maybe well in mind.
I think what we have on plan approval is we're looking at 2 things. Waiver request first,
Okay.
right? Questions on any of the 5 waivers? I'll make a motion we approve the 5 waivers then. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any further questions? We'll let these guys off easy, huh? All right, we'll go ahead and vote.
Aye.
Aye. 5 votes to the affirmative, the 5 waivers are approved. The next item is to approve the final subdivision plan. There are some comments that remain outstanding by the CS Davidson letter, so typically we would, if we approve it, we would do it contingent on the items that are listed in the letter, so that might be what you were talking about.
It's getting ahead of us, sorry.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the final subdivision plan, conditional upon the items outstanding in the CS Davidson letter be fulfilled.
You want me to just do a brief overview so
Sure.
the public's aware?
Yeah, that would be good.
This is the Susquehanna Trail. This is the entrance into O'Shea Lumber. This is actually the township building sits right here. This is the veterinarian office. So this is Theater Drive. Of course, this is 83. This is a separate lot, which is owned by O'Shea Lumber, and then this is a separate lot. And what they're going to be doing is merging these 2 lots and then creating a subdivision. Down here, this next page. This is a little close up here. They're going to be subbing off the buildings here as a separate parcel, and then the remainder of this tract here will be a residual lot. There are no plans at this point in time to do any further development with it. And the way we have it set up in the plan, if and when this lot is developed, they'll have access here off of Theater Road, and at that point in time is when they'll make the road improvements when they come in with the land development plan.
Yeah, basically,
Pretty straightforward.
Pretty much all the waivers had to do with the fact that there was no development activity taking place or approved, and so the waivers made sense to defer those items at this time. Okay? Yeah, thanks for doing that. I believe we had a motion and a second.
I think we had a first, I'm not sure we had a
Yes, that
second.
first. Okay, we-
Jeff seconded that.
Yeah,
Oh,
That was the first.
I thought Art made the motion.
I did make
Art did make the motion. I'll second the motion.
There you go. So we have a motion and a second which would approve the final subdivision plan. Any further questions from the board? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. Plans approved, waivers are approved. You just have to sit there and enjoy it. Thank you for coming.
And stay ready.
We have Jason Denaya, and this will be just a waiver request. There are 5 requests, and maybe you want to, again, for the purpose of everybody sitting out there,
Yeah, this
to
is-
show us where we are.
This is the tract of Jason Denaya. There's 2 separate parcels, and then there's, I think it's about 5 acres, a little over 5-acre parcel here. It's going to be a reverse subdivision merging this, and then I'll go to the next page here, but it's proposed 10 lots to be subdivided off up along West Forest. This next sheet. These are the 10 lots, just so you have an idea what's being proposed here. Keep in mind, this is only for waivers, it's not for plan approval. The plan's going to be considered again at the planning commission meeting, and then that will come to the board for consideration. So this is simply for the waiver request.
Where is this? Yeah, I saw you said West Forest.
Yeah, if you go out, say from 83 into the square in Shrewsbury, go straight across, go out West Forest, and when you're just leaving the
church
borough,
and then make that left?
don't make the right.
Go
Go
straight.
straight.
It's on the
Okay.
left. It's on the
Gotcha.
left.
Yeah, and if you, just as you're leaving the
Okay.
borough, on the left, you'll see the horse fence and everything, and just past that, it's open field.
Okay.
Yeah. And the waiver requests are to not show the critical environmental areas on the overall tract, which staff and planning was comfortable with because that area is not being developed. A preliminary plan, again, because it's 10 lots that are along the major thoroughfare. The plan scale, and again, that's due to the size of the overall tract. Property features, architectural plans, marketability and so forth, which, as you know, we're considering removing those as requirements under the Souther now, and that's pretty typical waiver request. And location proposed monuments, and again, that's pretty common waiver requests that we've received. So they're the 5 waiver requests. Again, they've been reviewed by staff and planning commission, and both groups recommend that the board consider them for approval.
I'll say something, as a configuration, this is not a good plan, a good design. Light off 10 homes along the road. The saving grace is that they collected all their rights from that farm. And are they bringing in other rights as well from other property owners?
Yeah, contiguous property that he owns.
So rather than have subdivisions, or rather lots scattered all over these farms, this is a better alternative. In addition, across the road, there's an existing subdivision. So this is almost a continuation of that subdivision. I don't want anybody to get the mistaken idea that we like this kind of design. This had extenuating circumstances.
Okay. Other questions, comments?
I make a motion to approve the waivers.
I'll second. Any questions before we vote? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative, the waivers are approved. We have, I guess, 2 phases of the William Solomon subdivision. It's a final subdivision. Maybe you want to explain this because you helped me through it. How little trouble
What are the
explaining.
phases?
the phase.
Right, okay, sure. This is the, yeah, it is confusing. This is the overall tract proposed for 8 lots. So phase 2 is going to be the approval of the creation of these 8 lots. Now, if you look here, there's a little sliver of ground that belongs to the main tract, the main farm tract, just a small sliver, but those are reservation areas for the, is it stormwater and sewage? Sewage for septic reservation areas. What phase 3 will be is granting subdivision to allow each of these reservation areas to be attached to the lots in which they will serve. So phase 2 is simply doing the standard 8-lot subdivision. And then phase 3 is allowing the subdivision to take place for each of these reservation areas to be attached as add-on lots. And again, they're required areas in order for the lots to even occur. And the idea was, I don't know if I have one of the overall tract, but the overall tract is about 110 acres, I think. No.
After phase 1, yeah.
Yeah.
Phase 1 actually subdivided the overall farm, which was like 194 acres, into 3 separate parcels. 2 farm parcels, and then the 8-lot parcel, the parcel containing the 8 lots.
Is phase 1 completed?
Yeah, what happened, there was a preliminary plan approved for this back, I believe, in 2010 for the 8 lots. So the preliminary's already been approved. Then what happened was phase 1 came in, as Jason was stating, there was a large tract. Dr. Solomon came in and he did a subdivision where it subbed out a farm tract between Doherty Road and Boyer Road. And then the second parcel was Boyer Road, and up on the other side of Ingham Road was tract 2, and then tract 3 was this. So we called that phase 1, and that's already been approved and recorded. So to try to keep track of all these phases with the same developer, we're calling this phase 2 for the 8 lots only, in accordance with the zoning ordinance. And our zoning ordinance does allow add-on lots of small slivers of ground and so forth, particularly if there are reservation areas that need to serve that particular
I've
subdivision.
got one question. Is that, what ground does he have that's in ag preservation? Is that ground that you're talking about attaching in ag preservation, and is that allowed? Because I know he put, I don't know what he did.
He put it in ag preservation. He related me, but I don't know if I asked him if this is in this, but he did not include this as application for.
Well, I know he didn't, what he did the preliminary for, but I'm saying this other ground that he's,
All right, good question.
You know, once tax map comes up, I can explain here.
Yeah. Some days the county tax map works really well, and the next day it doesn't.
Just-
in action?
Just to quickly explain, when we did the preliminary plan, Doc Solomon actually had the parcel that contained the 8 lots was part of his farm. There was a separate parcel north of that that was not part of his farm, that wasn't part of ag preservation, which he bought. So that little sliver of land was part of that parcel that never got entered into ag preservation because it wasn't part of the overall farm. So now coming back, we're just subdividing that all and adding that into the 3 lots of the subdivision now.
In the little sliver I was talking about, you know, this is the main tract. I'm sorry, goes up here, crosses Boyer, and then comes down here and actually jumps over here. But here's the 8-lot tract that you're looking at. You see this little sliver right there? That's the part we're talking about attaching to these lots.
And that sliver, that little sliver used to be a larger sliver in here. But with the phase 1 plan, that's why that sliver got smaller now.
These lots are wooded,
Yes.
and it only cleared, I think, 20,000 square feet per lot.
Whatever the ordinance requires,
I
that was
think
on
it's
the old plan.
14,
These are acre, how big are these lots?
Roughly an acre and a half.
Are they taking all the planning to take all the trees down, or just
They can't,
the
they can't.
They're only allowed to take roughly 14,000 square
What's
feet.
the trees, 14, is it 20?
It's 14.
Jeff, did that satisfy your question?
Yeah, my question's answered.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure this wasn't
Okay, I wanted to make sure.
ground that was, somehow in ag preservation.
Understood.
Can we require them, we have problems where people come in and clear these lots, can we find out after the fact that they're largely cleared? Maybe put somebody down before they do, because they take a tree out of there, they gotta have clearly marked, substantially marked, that this area is a woodland reserve area.
I mean, what we can do in here is when they come in and apply for a permit, provided they don't go in and start earth moving before.
Yeah, that's the thing, they can do that.
The unfortunate thing is, we have it on the plans, we're required, it's recorded.
We're making them post a bond.
We'll have to post a bond for public improvements, but I don't think you post a bond. I don't think we have the authority to post a bond.
Well, our attorney's here.
Not unless it's in the ordinance, Mr. Solomon. If you feel it's important enough to amend your ordinance to include it, you can do that. But if there's not language.
We can't amend it now,
Well, that's correct, not for pending thing, I mean,
it's after the
in
fact.
the future.
Well, I suggest we write Dr. Solomon a letter. Tell him the board was very adamant, and very concerned, if not alarmed, by the potential. I'm serious. I want to make that part of any motion.
Don't you have any influence?
I'm the last person in this room who has any influence with my brother. He was a little bit spoiled growing up. He's the youngest child. I have no control over that. All right.
Which is the double sliver, Jason? Ballpark, do you know?
I think it's about an acre and a half. If it's even that, I have it here.
Just curious, you don't have to make yourself crazy.
Well, while Jason's looking at that, there's 3 things I just wanted to note in addition to Jeff Shue's comments. If the board makes a motion to approve it conditional upon Jeff Shue's letter dated May 15th of 2018, I would ask that you also include as those conditions that we finalize the parcel history table, that we verify the transfer of the development rights from the main farm to these individual parcels, because we'll have to do transfer deeds and record those, so it shows that they've been utilized. And the only other thing, and this is clearly up to the board, I think Megan highlighted it here.
Yes.
Regarding the one recommendation from Planning Commission, that they believe there should be a note added specifying that there's an active rifle club that adjoins the property, just so that they're aware.
I think that's an excellent observation from the planning commission. That's not something you want to be surprised by.
He has done what Mr. Denaya did on the earlier plan. He has various farms, he's taken all his rights and residual thereof and put them on non-property. Fortunately, this does not interfere with the agricultural productivity of the cropland. That's all intact, so that's one good thing about this.
And just that,
We're losing the trees.
All right,
I said, even though we're losing the trees.
we're losing some.
Okay.
But, you want to make a motion later on?
Yeah, I think right now you wanted to make a comment.
yeah, I know Todd just pointed out the note about the active gun club. I did talk talked to Dr. Solomon about that. He wishes not to put that note on the plan, as that's not a requirement of the ordinance. And he just doesn't feel that that's something he has to do.
It might be something that we want to research, because I feel very strongly that it should be put on there if we have the ability to do that. And in fact, if we need to research it, I'd just say, then let's table this.
Yeah, I am not aware that there's anything in the ordinance that requires us to place that, or requires a developer to place that.
Is there anything that prevents us?
I know we have, for example, in the ag district, we have language in our ordinance that requires notes to be added that, you're in the agricultural district, and you're gonna be exposed to fumes and, equipment on the roads and, possibly manure on the roads and so forth to make people aware, but that is spelled out in our ordinance.
I mean, the first thing we'll have when somebody hears rifle shots is after calling the police, they'll be in here at our next meeting saying, how come I didn't know about this? And the fact that he doesn't want it on the drawings is telling me that he thinks it might, be an important factor.
To be honest, I'll request the board make a decision tonight, and if they wish to deny the plan, go ahead and deny the plan based on that requirement.
I'll make that motion. I'll make a motion, we deny the plan if we're not able to include that note.
Tim, can you weigh in at all? Clarify this, or?
I can see both sides of the argument.
Sure.
Right? I don't know that there's a specific authority for you to do so, but it's very common for there to be notes on the, notes requested, notes negotiated with the property owner to make, put things on public record. Right? I can't speak to whether this is important enough for that, right? But it is your job to make decisions within the health, safety, welfare of the community. So if you feel strongly about it and the property owner feels equally strongly, it's up to you to take what action you think is appropriate.
Can I ask the solicitor a question?
Well, typically I'm not authorized
Well, for the board's.
to provide information to.
I would just like to point out that if the plan would be denied, of course, a written request or a written decision would have to be provided to the applicant for a section in the ordinance that would state that. I can go back to Dr. Solomon and talk to him again, but I already had that discussion with him, and he said he wishes not to put that note on the plan.
Well, I think that's an indication he thinks that could be a problem, which...
I would agree with that, but from a legal standpoint, if there's nothing in our ordinance that says he has to, I don't know we have ground to stand and refuse it.
The other option you have possibly is that you could approve it on the conditions, and if the majority of the board feels that note needs to be added to the plan, you may want to approve it on that condition that that note is added. We then have to notify the developer that the board conditionally approved that plan, here's the conditions, and then let him make the decision if he wants to add that note or if he wants to let it be automatically denied if he doesn't accept it.
That's what I was going to say.
Well, that's a good idea, I just didn't understand from you that, I thought you were looking for
That's,
something more.
You can go ahead, that's fine with me too, I don't see where, he was pretty adamant about not adding that note, so, if the board wishes to approve it with that condition and he has the note, I understand the concern of the board, don't get me wrong, I do understand that.
Yeah, that'd be a big surprise to wake up to, and it might not be active at the time somebody looks at the land or the house is being built or whatever. But, that's just a rude thing to wake up to.
We're governed, I don't want too much involved with this, I'm not going to probably vote on this because I have no conflict of interest, I have no financial interest in anything that my brother has or does. But we're supposed to protect the health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens. And this falls under that very clearly. So,
I'll make a motion that we approve the final subdivision plan contingent upon the items that are open in the C.S. Davidson letter, and that a note be added to the plan that there is an active rifle club adjacent that adjoins the property.
And does your motion include the parcel history table?
Yes,
And the TDR
yes.
transfer?
Yes, those two as well.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second.
It's been 30.
Then we'll vote.
Aye.
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 I'm going to abstain, not because I have any financial interest, because I want to be about any comments that may come in that I wouldn't accept.
Aye.
4 votes to the affirmative, 1 abstention. So we have, with contingency, approved the final subdivision plan. We'll move to phase 3. That was for phase 2. I should have defined that. So we're to phase 3. And I guess we look at this in 2 segments. The first are the waiver requests. I believe there are 7.
Correct. And again, these are all add-on lots, there's no buildings proposed, it has to do with scale. Again, it talks about the land boundaries, sewer feasibility, existing contours, plan scale, sidewalks. Again, the rear of the property, just lots, no construction. And again, here you can see a little better. If you see this parcel here, you see the lightning strike would be attached to this parcel. This little further here would be attached to this parcel. And then this little piece, and then this small piece here would be attached. Both of these would be attached to this parcel.
So on the waiver request, if then later these are developed, does the sidewalk come back again or?
No, because they're at the rear of the property, for starters. And the other thing is, I don't have it. There is a note on the plan that states that this parcel here, when it's merged with this one, there has to be a new deed written, that becomes one parcel and it can't be subdivided or anything without it coming back to the township. So it's not like this is a separate piece of property and they could sell that off later or sell it to a neighbor. It's spelled out on the plan and it would be in the deed as well. But this add-on lot, it'll be rewritten as one new parcel, one
For all 3 of them.
for all 3.
Why would the sidewalk be permitted?
They wouldn't be. That's
I
what I'm
think
saying.
that's the reason for the waiver.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to force them to put sidewalks in.
And there's none required in the front.
And the sidewalks were waived with the original plans.
As a point of matter,
It's just that it's a requirement in the ordinance that has to be addressed.
Okay.
they clear out the 14,000 square feet per lot. And I think it's unacceptable, talking in general, any plan that comes in, that we know there's a risk that's happened before, that come in, they clear the whole lot, every tree, and they come in and ask for a building permit. So I'm going to ask our knowledgeable solicitor, certainly there's something we can hang our hat on here regarding this matter, requiring them to get a building permit, for example, in these cases, before they...
Paul, can we look at that after we decide on the waivers? Is that really part of the plan?
Thank you, that's a good idea, thank you.
So let's see if we can resolve the waivers first.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the 7 waivers? Recommendation from the...
Staff and planning commission were both favorable and recommend that the board approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve the waivers.
I'll second. Comments or questions? We should vote on the waivers.
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
4 votes to the affirmative, 1 abstention. So the waivers are approved. We'll come to the final subdivision plan. Do you have any other things other than the Davidson letter?
Again, just the same items, the parcel history table, development rate transfers, and that, no.
Right. Oh, do you have comments here now?
Regarding what?
The trees?
The trees?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I mean, this is a general comment, not just apply to this for something, this is an example of what we face. We've had cases where people come in and they're supposed to preserve a certain percentage of the wooded area, and they don't, because they don't have to get a building permit, they don't even know about it, or they just thumb their nose at it. So I'm suggesting that we require that before they get a building permit, they avoid doing any of this kind of work to that lot, particularly cutting the trees down or grading or anything. Just let the lot alone until they get a building permit.
So that's kind of a procedural thing beyond this, because we can't be retroactive to this.
Well, don't give up so easily. Why would I ask our attorney? I mean, go ahead, I mean,
If you're looking for a mechanism, Mr. Solomon, to deter that sort of bad action, first you look to the ordinance to see if there can be some mechanism, some bond requirement or something like that. And if there is nothing, which is what I assume, you're certainly in a position where you can provide a correspondence, or you can provide a notice. I don't know how effective that is. I don't know that there's a better deterrence than diligence in watching the property, keeping an eye on it. And that's not an easy thing with the lots that are spread out over your community. But that kind of diligence is your best protection from that kind of bad action.
if we know when the lot was sold and who it was sold to, and we can, as a matter of this courtesy, write to the new lot owner and say, please be aware of section so-and-so and so-and-so. So Todd, is there a way you can set that up so that we monitor, once this is approved, we monitor lot sales?
Yeah, I mean, in my travels, I'll certainly watch, but, you know, the board's out and about and see some activity and, you know, let road crew, I mean, that's what we have to rely on.
It's not ironclad. It's maybe the best we can do, but it's not ironclad.
Correct.
Well,
There can be considerable time between the purchase or sale of the lot and its actual development. So it's not
there's already a note on the plan to that effect. Very clear, 14,000 square feet, but don't we know that most of the lot buyers don't look at the plat, it's the approved plat, so they wouldn't know about it.
I think that's a very true statement. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, unfortunately.
well, there's a will, there's a way. It's foolproof. And I won't rest until I hear from somebody that there's a way to do this. Mr. Solicitor?
Shall we let people ponder all that?
Is the,
Well, no,
is the,
I don't want anybody to ponder. I said, I want the attorney to come up with a solution. No pondering, just a solution that's effective.
Okay, well, I'm gonna make a motion to approve this contingent about all the comments and everything, and on the basis that the note goes on the plan.
About the
The-
act, so it's essentially mirror the motion we did for.
Right, mirror the motion we did previously.
I'll second. Comments, questions? Ready to vote?
minus the gun range.
No, that was a part of that.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, that was included.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, Jeff?
About the gun club.
Okay,
The gun club.
yeah.
Ready to vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Sustained.
Aye.
4 votes to the affirmative, 1 abstention, and you can carry back that we feel pretty strongly, as he does, about the rifle club.
Thank you.
Thank
And just one thing that Mr. Solomon is asking for as far as sort of woodland protection. I represent Mr. Benai in the 10-lot subdivision plan that you guys approved the waivers for, and we're working through that subdivision. And we've been back and forth with staff, York County Conservation District, and so forth. And I understand the township's concerns, staff's concerns as far as possibly waiving stormwater and E&S up front with the subdivision plan. If that was done, for example, like on a project like this, there wouldn't be anything as far as stormwater that sort of was laid out and designed. Someone would have to come in for each lot and do a stormwater management plan for each lot. So the township engineer, staff and so forth would see that plan before, I mean, there's still a possibility someone could go in and clear that lot before a building permit, but that would also be incorporated into the stormwater management plan. If the township knew that those trees were all cut down on that entire lot, they could obviously require more stormwater to be taken care of, which would hopefully help people cut down all the trees on them lots. Now, Mr. Denai's plan, it's all farm field, so that really doesn't matter. But to me, doing that gives a more accurate plan. You know what type of house is going to be built, you know where the driveway is going to go, if there's a pool, a covered porch, and so forth. This plan, we assumed a certain size house, a certain driveway. We have no idea what's going to actually be built.
And they are bigger lots compared to the other.
Correct.
That does make a difference too.
It's just something to think about as far as these subdivision plans, that there aren't based toward an overall development, a large developers coming in to buy the entire development and development. This is going to be probably sold individually and so forth, as Mr. Denai's plan.
Here's what happens, and you know this as well as I do. Somebody buys a lot, and they're overjoyed, they have beautiful trees, and then they come out a week or two later, and the lot next to them, all the trees are cut down. And deep down is their lot, in their own mind, in their own enjoyment, and monetarily as well. So everybody loses. Everybody loses. We got to find a way. I get frustrated. I mean, how do you think we can find a way to make this work so that there's no guesswork or no chance it will fail? So
Do you want to revisit the ordinance?
there's nothing in there that says that they have to get they can't clear it until they get they don't have to, they can clear it anytime after they buy it, they can clear it. Even though it violates the plan. There's going to be some other mechanism to do that.
Again, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. We are to reports. So let's go down these. Are there any questions on the manager's report? What's involved in registering for PSAP? What do we have to do if we want to?
Just let me know.
Just let you know.
I was just thinking, I'll send out an email
Yeah.
and, board if you plan on attending. let me know.
Unfortunately, they don't put a time slot on when they're going to do the various classes this early, so you just register for the day.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter what class you go to, it's the same rate.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you go to 1 or 5?
Right, I typically go up for Monday and Tuesday, because that's the days that they have the concurrent training session. Sunday nights they're opening program, Monday morning, and then Wednesday morning is just their closing.
Yeah, I didn't know last year, that was kind of pointless.
And Sunday is just sort of the opening.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, I don't think any of us would have the opportunity, but they're entertaining on Tuesday nights, one of the best groups I've ever seen. They're Ocean City all the time. Rick Kay and the All-Nighters does one of the fastest, most exciting shows you'd see. Pays tribute to veterans as part of the show. Stands on ladders, picnic tables, and whatever else is around the roof of the building. He's very good. I got paid for that advertising.
Back up just for a second. The owner of any lots could put a deed covenant on those lots, and at closing, that would be discussed in front of everybody. Something that raises good to this.
You lost me.
Well, the deed covenant would say, pursuant to certain regulations, this lot is only be cleared up to 14,000 square feet, you know,
A deed restriction would be more evident, Mr. Solomon. That doesn't mean that it's going to be discussed at the settlement any more than anything else.
I'm glad you caught that, because now you're going to get back with something that's going to work, okay? Very good.
The only thing I would just add
Yeah, you have it.
is that PennDOT opened the bids for the Exit 4 project, and they range from just shy of 30 $30 million up to a little over $40 million, and the apparent low bidder is Kinsley Construction.
That's
So
good
they're
news.
reviewing the bids now before they do an
That's
award.
very good news, because one was 40-some,
Yeah, one's a little over 40.
what is it?
40.
40
million one was.
40 million.
Yeah, and Kinsley's at
Just under
29.8.
But if he always goes over budget, and
I mean,
if he always goes over budget and over time, that's a problem.
And their hope is to
quite soon.
have an award and notice to proceed by the end of March. So they're pretty much on that early April, late March timeframe, so we could be seeing construction in the beginning of April.
Get all your shopping done.
Avoid the area.
And you'll be seeing it for the better part of 2 years, for better or worse. When it's all done, if nothing else, we won't have the bumps in 851 as you come to the traffic light, because they're supposed to fix all that too. So hopefully it will be worth the inconvenience that we will see for some period of time. Anyone else have any questions for Todd on his report? Any questions on the solicitor? Doesn't typically give us a written report, but he's here. Are there any questions? You already asked yours.
I'm only allowed one.
That's it.
You're done.
Any questions from any of the other reports?
They're scheduling with North Hopewell. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna make a comment under engineer's report that, I don't know if you recall, but Jeff Shue, our engineer, secured an emergency permit so that we could get our road open and then follow up with the permanent repairs. And then we were contacted by North Hopewell Township that their engineer spoke with someone at DEP, and that individual didn't agree with what, I guess, one of his comrades at work approved. So, long story short is, North Hopewell came back to us and said that they were going to get a new emergency permit for different types of pipe and size of pipe and so on and so forth. And we said, so you're going to take the ball and lead this? And they're like, yes. And then about a week later, we got an email back that said, DEP will not issue us an emergency permit. And of course, our permit expired. So,
And
we're back at the drawing board again.
So what are we impacting in terms of residents?
We have one resident that's impacted by
Yeah,
that.
I know that that
I
gentleman
mean,
has
we
been
had the
here before.
permit, we were ready to move forward, but North Hopewell wasn't satisfied with that. They decided they were going to apply, do something different, and we discovered then that, I mean, emergency permits were supposed to be secured shortly after the incident.
Which
It doesn't
we
go
did.
on for like a year or two.
Which is why they denied their.
Why it was denied.
Yeah.
So, and then in the meantime, our permit expired.
So where does that leave us?
So the email I received was that, hey, they won't give us a permit, let us know what you guys think and want to do. So, I would want to pass it back to us, but we need to, I'm going to set up here in February, try to set up a time to meet with them, to have a sit down face to face
And it probably
With
means,
Hopewell or DEP?
North Hopewell.
and it probably means that repair now will have to be more extensive. It can't just be a temporary repair.
Right.
But
I
even,
mean, even under the emergency permit, the temporary
Still
might
have a
good
year.
for a year, which would allow us to go out into 2020.
you have what, one way to get in and out right now is,
That's correct.
right?
Correct.
So you aren't landlocked yet.
Not yet.
But it's a securest way to do that without.
Yeah.
The Shaw family's here. Have you been giving them an update as to where we are with that project?
That's later on the agenda.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that comes a bit later. So we're going to, so you're going to get a meeting together with North Hopewell. So we just wasted, unfortunately, our permit, engineer's time, and a lot of time on the calendar to help this gentleman out. You know. but that's where we are, so we will certainly pursue it. I suspect that in the end, we will take the lead and drive this home, would be my guess. Unfortunately, I think we may still have different ideas about what kind of crossing should go there, but that's why we're having a meeting. Okay. Anything else in the engineer's report? Our apologies that you're having to live with that, by the way, but we aren't immune to it. We keep trying.
It affects many North Hopewell Township residents, so really I would think they would want to take the ball.
Yeah, it affects a lot more people in North Hopewell.
Absolutely.
Have you gone to their meetings?
No, I have not personally.
I'm just curious what the scuttlebutt is on that side of the world.
Anything on the maintenance report? Zoning officer, codes enforcement, sewage enforcement?
Sidestep on the maintenance report, if you don't mind.
Sure.
How's our injured employee coming along?
Good.
Okay.
Yes, I talked
That's
to
all
him.
we need to know. No more violating or anything, just
Moving,
make sure that
making
we're
good
moving in the
progress.
right direction.
New employee doing well?
Yes. Mike said he's done really well. He started that first weekend, he's out spending it in the snow.
Yeah.
So.
We're gonna go around and visit the parks with him sometime.
When it gets a little warmer, we should have did that.
Yesterday.
Warmer and not so muddy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna order some birdhouses. We have enough money in our budget for that.
Did you get a meeting?
I'll talk to him.
Mr. Dean?
No, and I'm gonna take responsibility for that because between when he was sick and then I ended up having an appointment I had to go to and then it got really cold and I didn't think it was that critical for me to stand out there and get blue fingers. But he's still on my radar.
Look at the zoning, codes enforcement, and sewage enforcement right now.
Well, sure.
Few things that are coming due, but I think in general, Todd does a good job of keeping up with this and following through and getting it resolved. I don't know if Stan wants to say anything at this time, emergency management. Always good to see you here.
Sure, I'd like to give you a verbal report if I can.
Absolutely.
Stan Walters, I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for South Central York County EMA, which is your emergency management agency serving the township. This Saturday, there is an elected officials workshop at county for those of you who can attend at 9 o'clock. This is a training that they do it annually, so if you miss this year, you can come next year, but
So they got enough people to,
as far as I know, I didn't get an email saying it was canceled. I'll double check that.
I can't do this Saturday, so if you hear that it's been rescheduled for some reason, please let me know.
Sure.
so it's 9 to,
Yeah, 9 to 10:30. It's not too long.
and that's at the emergency.
At the 911 center on Reeves Road.
Out past the prison wall.
Right. We also
You
have,
have to register ahead of time?
you should,
Good.
if you can.
I went to it last year. It was excellent.
I go every year just to pick up any new changes or hear if there anything they're working on that might be coming along to help. Primarily it deals with what is called Title 35 under Pennsylvania law. And there's a lot in there regarding EMAs, volunteers, how they're treated. In addition to that, we've got 2 drills that are coming up that we're hoping to participate in. The first one is on Tuesday, March 26th from 9 in the morning until 12 noon. This is an annual exercise that PEMA runs. It's a severe weather drill. And York County Office of Emergency Management has indicated that they plan to play in the drill, participate, so we are going to also activate our EOC and just exercise our procedures and respond to whatever scenario they create. Also, I don't have any details, but I understand that the Southern Region Police Department is planning on conducting a live drill or exercise in conjunction with the Southern School District. And we are trying to see if we can participate and be involved in any way with that. That would be, if it happens on Friday, March 29th, I'm not sure of the time, how long they intend to have that drill go on. This past week on Tuesday, yesterday, I spent the day with 10 FEMA Corps volunteers. FEMA Corps is a program run by FEMA for young adults 18 to 24 who volunteer 10 months of their time to work with FEMA on a variety of projects. This particular team of 10 that are here in York County started last July at a training center in Iowa, and since their training they've been down to Puerto Rico aiding with damage assessment there. They were also down in Panama City in the Florida Panhandle after the hurricane there, and they've been here in Pennsylvania for a while, but FEMA was able to get them assigned to York County to help us with the ongoing long-term recovery from last summer's rains. So we were here in Shrewsbury Township, and actually we worked our way from Glen Rock all the way over the Fawn Grove area, knocking on the doors of residents who had requested volunteer assistance with cleanup of some type, or that their driveway, like their culvert or bridge, got wiped out. Anyone that we weren't able to contact by phone, we actually drove to those locations and knocked on their doors. If we didn't get anybody, we left a flyer. So these FEMA Corps volunteers, I was kind of their local, not really a chaperone, because they don't need a chaperone, but a guide to help them navigate the area. So we're still involved, the York County VOAD, trying to assist out of 150 people who requested volunteer help. There are about 80 who still have unmet needs. And so we were trying to contact out of those 80, the ones in this area that haven't been able to be reached in any other way. So we physically went there and tried to reach them. So we left a flyer on the doors of the ones that no one was home.
Have they actually done any work to help anybody at this point in time?
Yeah, so like I said, there were 150 residents countywide, and there's about 80 left who still have unmet needs. Some of those have been claimed by the organizations. Some of them are outdoor debris cleanup, so they're just waiting for warm weather for a weekend. A particularly large project that's not here in our municipality, but over in Otter Creek, over by the river. There's a lot of debris that's come down Otter Creek and is headed towards the river. And every time it rains, it moves a little bit. And they're trying to prevent that from becoming a hazard to wildlife and to boating interest in the river. But we are working here within the municipality served by schema. And then finally, in regards to exit 4, if anyone's interested in the material put out by PennDOT, there is a link that you can watch an actual drive-through of the diverging diamond interchange and how it works. They have both a kind of a cartoon-like, and then somebody actually drives through one. So people are concerned about what that might be like. But we can always get to the giant from Mount Airy, so you don't have to go down.
I went to the Star today.
I went to the Star.
Thank you, Stan. Any questions to Stan?
I have a question. You attended a meeting along with some other gentlemen from Shrewsbury Borough Council regarding the runoff.
Oh, you're talking about the stormwater meeting, the MS4 meeting.
I got the impression that you weren't enthusiastic about it, the concept of taking.
There are some issues with it, but that's a different hat. That's my borough council hat. I'm not here representing Shrewsbury, so I don't want to make any
Are you going to
comment.
come later on this evening?
We get together for hot chocolate or something if you want to.
I'm anxious to know what proposal you're gonna come up with since we do have a problem. And if you don't like one solution, then you have morally, you have to come up with another solution, so.
When your attorney comes up with his solution for your other problem, I'll have mine.
I don't think he'd like you to, like you represent my attorney. So,
Dan.
you're apologizing.
Thank you for your
And thanks, Dan.
report, and especially for all the work that you do. Appreciate that. All right, next, the last report is Planning Commission and Zoning, so for any questions on that. Now we'll move to supervisors' comments. I want to make just a couple, and others can weigh in if they want. The first one, Supervisor Rose and Manager Ziegler and I did meet with Chief Myers at the Shrewsbury Volunteer Fire Company Station. I guess about a week or a little bit more ago for a tour. Had a lot of discussion about the needs of the fire company, their future expansion plans, discussion of potential merger need or merger and what that might with other local volunteer companies and how that might reduce costs. Just kind of a wide-ranging discussion to better understand their needs and finances and kind of let them better understand ours. And then Supervisor Solomon, Weiser, and I attended a Regional Stormwater Authority municipal officials meeting at Shrewsbury Borough, the one that Paul was just referring to. There are officials there from Shrewsbury Borough, New Freedom, Glen Rock, and Railroad boroughs. It was conducted by 2 members of the York County Planning Commission. A lot of questions, a lot of discussions, a lot of concerns, as you said. One of the big concerns I heard from everyone there, and certainly I expressed too, was that how do you get an equity in the utilization and distribution of funds? It seems like on the south end of the county that we always come up short and sort of subsidize what goes on in New York City. So we have a big concern about that. But they're taking this roadshow to municipalities all over York County before they make some final recommendation to the commissioners. Todd talked about the bid opening. I did receive a couple of thank yous from citizens regarding the prompt clearing of the roads and comparing them to other municipalities that they had just driven through where the roads were in not in such great shape. I guess the downside of that is it probably takes a lot of salt for us to do that. So, you know, that has its own issues. But at any rate, there was a lot of appreciation that I mentioned to Todd before that he would carry on to the road crews about how well and how quick they did their job. And that's my part. If anybody else wants to elaborate or comment on anything else?
You were speaking on the supervisor comments.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, we attended a meeting together along with Ann and on the Stormwater Authority. I think the concept is good. There's 17 local governments in York County, and we've failed individually and collectively in resolving the problem with stormwater runoff. Everybody should be exempt if rain or precipitation doesn't fall on their property. They should have to pay the $49. And then if it falls on their property and it comes off clean, they shouldn't have to pay anything. So, you think anybody will be exempt? I don't think so. Anyway, Art mentioned there are some legitimate issues. And but I think that they can be addressed if there's a willingness to work with the county and get something positive. We're spending $900,000 on the damage from the storms we had this past year from water runoff. And we need to deal with that. And the challenge of what we do as elected officials is come up with difficult issues and solve the problem. And not just say we're against it. I don't want to say anybody here is against it necessarily. There's some issues that do exist. The county has to address them. So I agree with that. But having an authority, one entity that deals with the problem is critical. And one last thing. I don't know what your impression is, what do you think about it? When you drive north from the Maryland line towards York and Harrisburg versus drive south towards Hunt Valley and Camillion Cotterville, what differences do you see? Better road, yeah. Median strip, farmland, woodland, very little development. Baltimore County has one governor, 7 councilmen, and we have 72. And we're never going to change 72, but we're stuck with it for a number of different reasons. But we need to come together and do something on a countywide level from time to time when it works. And this can work if people will put their minds to it and solve some of the issues that do exist. I'm done.
Thank you. Appreciate your opinion. Anybody else?
Just my opinion.
Appreciate you, Paul.
I spent a lot of time on this.
Just one thing, just for the audience to know, it probably seems, I know when I was sitting up there, it probably seems like we're just sort of rubber stamping things, and I just want you to know that a lot of communication happens behind the scenes as we look at stuff, and that was alluded to a little bit by Paul and Art earlier, but a lot of questions get thrown around, and it's not just, oh, okay, fine, whatever, so just to throw that out there.
But it's a good point. We do many hours of preparation for every hour that we sit up here. I can assure you of that. And we go through many of these plans. We have a lot of questions that are answered. We can't do that as a group because that's against the Pennsylvania laws, but we can individually ask questions and evaluate and pursue. 2 of us can get together, with the manager to go through some things, or with other municipalities. So a good point, and I'm glad you made, there is. Sometimes we may see quickly get right to it without even letting Todd explain to you all that what's going on is because we've been through it and understand it, not because we're trying to rush through it. With that, we move to old business, and I think, Todd, the first thing is just an update. You've been doing some investigation on the request we had to consider, and I guess closure, as a solicitor has educated me, is not the best word to use. I believe it's vacate. So you said you can close very easy, just put barricade up.
Yeah. Yeah, if you recall, at the last meeting, I was directed to contact the 4 property owners that are immediately adjacent to Thompson Road and Cloverdale Avenue. I did send letters to them.
Just for the benefit of everyone,
Thank
you
you.
have
Yes,
hours,
thank
but everyone else doesn't.
Yeah, for those who aren't familiar, here's the Shrewsbury Borough line. Here's Railroad Borough, and this area all in here is Shrewsbury Township. This is Constitution Avenue going into New Freedom, Stone Arch Road, and then Cloverdale comes off of Shrewsbury Borough, and eventually ties into Shaw Road here on Railroad.
That's the trail on the road, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, yep, this is the trail.
Which part of that runs through railroad? Borough, roughly, just for education.
What's that,
The road?
The proposed closure.
Yeah, this is Cloverdale, and it comes down, and then this right here becomes Shaw Road in Railroad Borough. So this green line, you see.
So none of the red is in.
No, what you see in red is what is being proposed.
So that's all.
That's what we would be closing.
For vacating.
Vacated, yes.
Okay, so everything that would be vacated is in the township.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. My understanding is, I believe the Shawbs are going to approach Railroad Borough, but that's something they would do with the borough. I did also send a letter to Railroad Borough and Shrewsbury Borough to just make them aware that we are considering this. So, I haven't heard anything back from Shrewsbury Borough at this point. I do know that Railroad Borough received their letter and it was being passed on to the council president. Anyway, I did make contact with the 4 property owners in the township by letter. One property owner on Cloverdale, I have not had any response from at all. The other property owner on Cloverdale, I did meet with them one evening at their home, showed them the map, talked about what was being considered, answered some of their questions, and they had no objections to the road being vacated.
Which is the one that you did or did not hear from? I don't care which way you want to do it.
It was a Michael Weber.
Right,
He's
I
the
saw
very
that.
first one.
The first property?
Yes.
Okay, so he's less affected, if you will.
Yes, and I did not hear any response from him.
Okay.
Then I spoke to Mr. and Mrs. Schaefer, the second one here in Cloverdale.
Gotcha.
They had very few questions or comments, and they said they had no objections. Then I spoke to, well, I actually got a phone call from these folks here. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce that last name. He goes by Sal, so we'll say Sal Paul. Something like that.
That's what I'm gonna go with.
Anyway, he called, he said unless I needed to, there was no need for me to meet with him because he's fully supports it and he wishes it would have happened many years ago. And I said, well, if you have no objections and you support it, I won't take your time. And then one evening I did go down and meet with the Knowles at this parcel. At this point in time, they didn't have a position one way or the other. They did express that, you know, there are some times that, you know, there's some traffic there and some loitering back in this area here, I guess. But they raised a lot of good questions regarding the pipe condition, the road condition, traffic as far as the trash trucks, emergency equipment and so forth.
The
So
road condition is in the condition of Thompson Road itself?
yes, you know, their concern was if we vacate it and that becomes, because they actually, their access is right to Thompson, so this would become private and their responsibility to maintain. And same with the stream pipe that goes through their culvert pipe. You know, they weren't too excited about being vacated and becoming theirs, and then next year, you know, the road collapses because the pipe's bad. So Mike and I, as I put in my memo, Mike and I are going to review all that and then come back to the board next month. He's also going to put together some pricing for us to, we're going to have to at least, at this point and this point here, depending what we do, definitely here at Cloverdale, and we'll have to talk to Mr. Shaw about this, but we're going to have to provide not a cul-de-sac because it just would not pay the amount of liquid fuels that we get. It just wouldn't make sense. But we would like to put in the ability that someone pulls up there past that first property, you know, 20, 25 feet, and allow for someone to back around so that people aren't backing up into their private driveways.
Absolutely.
And then same here, if we abandon it here at Stone Arch Road, that won't be an issue. If for some reason we were to keep this part of Thompson, again, we would be looking at maybe doing something there. But
Basically, at their property line.
yeah. So we're going to look at those different options, and we'll put all that in writing for the board, and Mike will put those
For next month.
for next month.
I think that's important for us, notwithstanding the problems that are there, we still need to understand what it would cost the township
Right.
to vacate those roads. What's the total length roughly?
That I do not know offhand.
Is it in any major consideration for like our liquid fuels? We would lose something by vacating those roads, right?
Yes.
Maybe that's just something you can put in.
Yeah.
I think that next month, is it substantial in what we lose from the liquid fuels? I think we need to totally understand financially what we're looking at.
I think we have to upgrade the roads before we vacate them to some degree, some reasonable degree.
I think we need to know what it would cost.
I know, that's what I'm saying, so I think that's important, but they can't expect us to do overdo the work to
Give me just a minute.
culverts and that sort of thing are important. But the other thing here is this. If that property, right now is zoned, one lot per farm or something, what's the zoning? It's very limited zoning, I think.
Why don't you go ahead and step up? I think he wants to, you want to come up and go, man?
Yes, I don't know what I can add, I don't want to get up here and make,
You won't. You will not.
I did talk to Brian Schweitzer.
Just for the record, can you give name and address? Just
My name's Kevin Shaw, Shaw Road, New Freedom,
We
Pennsylvania.
know that, but that means we have it for a minute.
But I did talk to Brian Schweitzer, he was there at the Shrewsbury Thompson well. He told me that
they were considering, and maybe they spoke to somebody up here, that the two houses on Cloverdale, since they already plowed to their well, that they just would consider plowing past those two houses, that the township wouldn't have to worry about coming around through the borough and doing that. The Thompson Road you're speaking about, I think it would work out best maybe for everybody if a turnaround or a gate or the vacation point would be on our property line. Because I know the one neighbor down there did express concern of having to maintain that small stub of road, the snow removal, worrying about the pipe under the road. And, but then like you said, Saul, he called me and he was gushing. He was so tickled that this could possibly happen that he couldn't express enough. And I think he told me that he had contacted people. Yes, he seemed very happy about it. He doesn't like like you said, the activity there all the way.
Okay.
The other thing I'm not sure of, my sister brought it up. I'm not sure if you guys are even getting any liquid fuel money for that road anymore.
Well, Todd can check that.
Yeah.
You can check the tax, but I believe up there at the tax bureau, they didn't have any rest till they changed that all, at least on the left-hand side of Thompson Road as we're looking at. That used to be a township tax number, and I believe they changed that to railroad borough. Now, I believe we were up here several years ago, and you helped us out. They really had things messed up, and we had property transferred between my dad and me. They just wanted to combine all that. And some of that ground that ran out towards the Shrewsbury borough line used to be considered township. And my dad said that was all done years ago, so the township would get tax money coming in. So I don't know if that has anything to do with the fuel.
We'll trust Todd to research all that.
So yes, he can research that.
Just so we have an understanding of the total picture.
That's pretty much it.
I'm not sure if we've got anything else to add or not, but like I said, Brian seemed agreeable for that little bit of work there, and I think if we tweak a few little odds and ends there, that everybody can come to an agreement where the stops and starts need to be done, then we can progress if that all works out for us.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for your information, and I'm sure Todd will put that all together in a nice package for us for next month.
This is
Thank
something, like to add something else, Mr. Chairman. This is some of the best farmland we have in one of the best farming areas. It's also one of the highest in demand for development. It's in between all the boroughs, basically. So we don't worry about expenses like we got to put a new culvert in. In the long term, it's going to pay many, many times over, or it's going to save us money many, many times over. I also add, the study that we did, or had done recently, or not 10 years ago actually, or longer, it showed that for every residential home, there's a deficit as far as what they pay in taxes. For every dollar they pay in taxes to the school district and to the local governments, it costs $1.21 for services. Okay? So, and in farmland, conversely, for every dollar they pay in taxes, they get maybe 40 cents back. So this farmland, all our farmland is subsidizing all the other development. So let's not get caught up and say, well, we're going to put a culvert and do that. That's got to be considered, I agree. There's a large overriding considerations here.
Well, I think we need all the facts.
I agree.
I don't have them yet.
I'll just point out the other part of the story here.
Okay.
I'll add one thing if I can, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Just make sure that you talk to your engineer. In my experience, when you abandon a road and there's a stub there, there's a requirement for a cul-de-sac or a turnaround of a particular diameter. I've been told that in the past in other municipalities. Just check with Jeff Schuman, he'll be able to help you out.
Yeah, I think that's only required if you want liquid fuels. Yeah, but we'll confirm that.
Good point, thank you.
All right. That's, anything else to add on that, Todd?
No.
Okay, we appreciate that update, and we'll look forward to some more information at our next meeting.
Thanks, Tom.
Which we'll probably see you here then too, so we welcome that. The next item we had was a sewer EDU reservation. This is on Jason's. This one. Did I miss one? Oh, I did, yes, I did, thank you.
But that's actually okay, because I'm gonna ask the board to table that until the March meeting. Excuse me. I want to get some additional quotes so that we have 3.
Good.
So we do have one, but I think this is good. And if I'm talking to a couple, we probably should get some others.
Yeah, just,
Due diligence.
yeah, just to do our due diligence and have
If there's no objections, I don't think we need to vote on it. The consensus is we can just table that till March.
I think we're all good with that.
It's actually too late for planting. I recognize that we meet early March, but
No, it's not, I think you're in good shape as long as you're by, usually by like May 15th.
We'll be early in March, so. Okay, so now we can talk about the sewer EDU reservation extension. And I think somewhere you had a request.
Yeah, this is for, remember earlier we had the Jason denied at 10 lots along West Forest Avenue. We reserved 10 sewer EDUs for that project. We approved the waivers tonight. The plan's supposed to be going back to Planning Commission this month, and I anticipate that it'll be coming to the board after action at the March meeting. So, in relationship to that, he's asking for a 3-month extension for it to coincide with his plan.
Any questions? I make a motion that we authorize the 3-month extension.
That's second.
Questions? We'll vote.
Aye.
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 Opposed?
4 votes to the affirmative, so the 1 negative, so it is approved. We have a proposed saldo amendment. This is what we've been looking at for several months now. Okay. I missed another one.
Yeah.
Right.
You're right, at the meeting.
We'll look at the rezoning proposal. This is portions of Sykeston Road and Manchester Streets. And this went before the York County Planning Commission. They have recommended that it be adopted, as have, I believe, staff and Planning Commission.
Correct.
So if we wish to proceed, our motion now would be to authorize this for advertisement, and then that would follow with a public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. A motion? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions?
Just for the purpose of, I think the board's aware of it, but for the public,
Right.
this is not actually adopting and approving the rezoning tonight. What the board is doing is authorizing it to be advertised in the form of an ordinance and authorizing us to carry through with the required notification to the affected properties and to post the area. And we're required to give minimum 30-day notice to the affected properties. And our next meeting is March 6th, so we're not going to be able to meet that. So the ordinance will be advertised and the public hearing will be held April 3rd. And at that point in time, following the hearing, if the board's still comfortable with it, is when they would make the formal action.
Todd, there'll be public notice go out to all the adjacent property owners
It's all the affected property.
affected. That's more than adjacent.
Did I say adjacent?
I said adjacent. So you said affected.
Yeah.
Affected.
It's the affected.
I would assume it's less than,
It's 26 properties.
it's only the ones that are being changed.
Correct.
Right, yeah, not the ones that are connected to it.
I understand.
And I'll confirm that, but that's what I read, it's the affected property.
It's just important we have a good public hearing and issues. I want to find out before we.
And we're required, we also need to put signs.
Posted, right?
Right.
Post in that area, so
Good point.
passing voters.
Yeah, that's fine, thank you. There's some representatives in the back, and I want them to understand, they understand the schedule now. You talk to them occasionally? You know what to say?
Yeah, we get an email, occasional phone call, so yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We shall vote. This is, as Todd said, just to basically authorize it to be advertised.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative, so Todd will proceed to get that advertised and the appropriate signage and all that goes along with it.
It was good, everybody was very happy with our decision. Nobody ever is happy with our decision. A lot of exception, so thank you.
We have a proposed, our proposed saldo amendments. This is,
Yeah, this is the second time that the board is seeing them. If you recall, I asked to just postpone it for a month to allow me to meet with staff again, just for one further look through, and
Nothing's changed since we
Changed.
nothing's changed at all since we talked about it before.
So, if the board is comfortable with these proposed amendments, the next step would be for the board to authorize it to be forwarded on to York County Planning Commission for their review and comment.
The board went over these amendments, amendment by amendment. You went through this whole thing with us,
Correct, we went through this.
and that has not changed. Same,
No.
same draft, all right.
What were you saying?
My thought was on, under the driveway on the first page, under the modification. The purpose and intent of the ordinance is observed, and I wondered if we should say is observed and preserved, as opposed to just is observed. Or maybe that's redundant, I don't know.
Which page?
First page,
Okay.
driveway, modification, the tail end of that says, the purpose and intent of the ordinance is observed, and I just wondered if we should say observed and preserved. I don't know what folks think, if that seems to be a bit too redundant, or...
I see our,
Observed.
I see our solicitors reading it.
If Supervisor Miser likes it, I like it.
Gee, thanks, Tim.
So observed
And
and
preserved.
preserved.
And why are we taking out waiver? Why is that becoming modification on the next page?
Just for language consistent with the MPC, this kind of plan too.
Most salt knows that I'm familiar with, talk about modifications, not new.
So are we going to
But if
change
you don't like it, I don't like it either.
Are we going to change our form to modification request?
We would, yes.
Okay.
So we'll be talking about modifications and not waivers.
Modification applications, that's a tongue twister.
Anything else? Anybody?
I have something that I'll try to be brief, as always. That's a joke.
Todd is laughing, he got the joke.
At any rate,
And I was thinking of something else.
we talked about earlier about having some protection of a wooded lot as such. And is this the place we may want to consider putting that kind of language?
Yeah, I mean, if it's something in the saldo.
See, we already have language in our zoning ordinance, right?
That's my next point.
So what, I mean,
What kind of language are it?
I mean, we have the requirement setting forth that.
right, we have a requirement already, so I don't see how restating it somewhere else gives it any more strength. I think it's what you said. It's, you gotta observe it, you gotta see it.
We require bond to be posted. I don't know, the things you can do, require bond to be posted after, when the subdivision is approved. There's also requirements that they actually delineate the area they're going to protect. Right, Todd?
Which we did do.
Oh, don't bring that up. All right.
We actually, on that particular plan, that development you're speaking of, it was clearly delineated on the plans, but the developer.
All right, well, I'm not going to beat this to death. But I hope we can find a solution to the problem. It's for the good of the township, the lot owners, everybody wins.
Well, if we're redoing this, though, now's the time, if you want to add something in here.
It's already gone to the York County Planning Commission.
No, we're about to vote to to send it to
Okay, I
them.
was thinking something else.
You've got protection of
That's a
critical
good point.
environmental areas in here.
Wouldn't necessarily apply.
No, but I'm just thinking of something similar.
You know, it says on each lot, in regard to the 14,000 square feet in this case, they would have to put up signs, they have to put up markers, monuments and all.
Who's the they?
That'd be
The seller?
the lot owner in this case, the developer would.
Where's the language at now? Is it within Saldo or within the zoning ordinance? That's-
For the 14,000.
Right.
That's in the, I don't know.
I don't know.
It's
In Saldo. So that language is basically already there. It's
Yeah.
already in here. So,
The problem is you sell a lot and that person doesn't look at the ordinance.
right.
That's right. Should,
And it can have it noted on the plan, you have noted in deed restrictions. It doesn't mean that it's not gonna solve the problem.
That's even less likely sometimes to be looked at.
well, I mean, it can be looked at though in the next couple of days, maybe. So then anything we can do in there at all.
Well, we can table it if, you want to try to get with Todd or something.
Is there a hurry about this? Would wait a month?
No.
All right. That's a good idea, all right. Let's just take a look at it and see.
I mean, I agree with Ian, if it costs us every time we advertise an ordinance or something, so if
Let's get
we're
it
not
right.
satisfied with something, let's get it now.
Let's take a look at it
and send it to York.
and
Yeah, we'll soon be on the payroll.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
To table it.
To table it and until the next month, and in the meantime, we look at the means, determine if there are any means available for us to protect wooded lots.
I'll second.
No
You're gonna meet
motion.
with Tom?
I mean,
You're gonna meet with Tom to go through that?
I will not eat or sleep.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions? We'll vote.
To table?
Table.
Aye.
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 Dave, that can be interpreted as a reluctant aye.
No, he was just
Retired.
speaking.
I'm retired.
All right.
All right, 5 votes to the affirmative, we'll table that, and we'll let, maybe Todd and Paul initiate some review and bring in the solicitor if that becomes necessary. That's our last item for old business as far as I know, correct, Todd?
Correct.
We have new business, and you want to add one item, so we're going to do that first.
Yeah, we can. I emailed everyone the amended stormwater O&M operation maintenance agreement.
I think the confusion in there was all the talk of stormwater authority, and the differentiation between the two. My first reading of that was, what are we voting on? Stormwater authority.
This is our standard O&M when someone builds a new home and so forth. And the reason it's amended, we already approved one. They built the home, and when they went to do the installation, they hit some springs and so forth, so they had to relocate and adjust their stormwater seepage pits and so forth, so we have a new plan. So this is simply amending that O&M agreement to match the
New plan's been approved.
Correct, by Jeff Schuler, yes.
I'll make a motion, we approve the amended stormwater plan.
I'll second it.
Questions, comments? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative, that is approved. And then we have a septic agreement. This is another one of those where realtor or owner won't make the improvements.
Yeah, it's a foreclosed property.
Right.
We normally don't have any issues if it's owner occupied or the owner's around. It's always these bank foreclosures. The bank doesn't want to put a penny into the property because they're probably already losing money. So this one's on Rockville Road, and it's been vacant for, oh my gosh, probably 4 years at least. So they have a buyer for it, and they do need to replace the septic tank. CR Property Group, that's a company, they come in, fix it up, and they sell it, so they will not occupy it, and that is spelled out in the agreement. And also talking to Keith Hunnings, our sewage enforcement officer, we have the date that it has to be completed by is March 15th. That was a reasonable date.
Okay, so they basically have a month
Yes.
to get in there complete, and that'll be done by the property group,
Correct.
who will in turn resell it.
Right, right. And the agreement spells that it cannot be occupied
Right, okay.
until the work's done.
Comments, questions, or a motion?
And just for explanation, the only reason I brought it up now, or no, I'm sorry, I'm on the other agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, I make a motion to accept the agreement.
Need a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. We'll go ahead and vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative, that's approved. Any question on correspondence? You have 3 or 4 items included.
At the risk of opening up Pandora's box, the SPCA reported there was just 1 cat?
That's all it says.
Okay, all right.
I thought that was unusual. Unusual.
Yeah, I don't know.
SPA says that there are two strays.
No, I counted 1 stray, but it's fine.
Yeah, that's.
It surprised me when I looked at that, because usually it's a much,
Yeah, it's usually 6 or 7 cats.
should they listen even they got rid of all the cats.
Clock the ball, clock the ball.
Paul's been dealing with them.
I did talk to,
Paul put it down.
I said, did talk to one of their staff last year, for about a half hour. And
Fruitful discussion?
she just has emotional attachments to any dog or cat. And she needs professional help, but I wasn't going to recommend that because she might take offense. So I listened very patiently, and if there's only like 2 animals per quarter, that's $500 an animal, pretty much based on what we pay.
But we've never had a quarter this low.
Yeah, I would question if that report's even,
Box.
I would question if that report's even correct. Doesn't sound right to me.
How much are we willing to pay per stray? Maybe we can form a citizen committee.
I think it's free, we just have to make a sizable donation.
We could ask
them
them
to do it.
if the report is correct,
Okay.
you know, just because it's so, and if it is, maybe there's an explanation.
We paid about $3,500 as an annual fee, Todd, is that right? I recall.
No, it's 23, 400, do you remember what SPCA?
I think what, next year, what I'm going to do, after talking to the public in general, I'm going to suggest that we say, we'll pay $2,700 a year, or not to exceed so much a stray.
Well, let's see if the report's even right. I said, let's see if the report's even correct. This sounds, maybe it isn't.
Maybe it's low, maybe it's only 1. Let's move on.
That's probably better. Just a quick comment on the synopsis you have of the study, feasibility study for the earned income tax collection. That's where we sent a letter earlier, collection by your Adams rather than statewide. And I did take an opportunity when Representative Kate Klunk's representative was here this week and I was here to just sit with her for a few minutes and emphasize again that the township's preference by far was that we continued with York Adams, even though some of the information here appears that it's pretty close as to what people prefer. But I don't think anything will be done for a while, but at least was another opportunity to express our comment at the state level. Any other questions on correspondence? If not, we've reached the second and last opportunity for comment from the public. Anyone wish to address the board at this time?
I have just an administrative comment. If the board members, before you leave, if you could sign the plans And there's 3 different plans, so it's actually going to be three different sets, so we're going to have to actually sign 9 times. So,
I gotta go back.
Nice.
there's three separate plans, and there's 3 plans to each set.
I'll go back.
I just wanted to mention that so you don't sign just the top one.
I probably would do that.
I did. That's what I did.
I guess not.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All right, we are adjourned.